Three, two, one. Let's go! Yes! I'm the host of the PBE podcast, Troy Tittlemeyer, and joined by, of course, Matt the Skip Scipio. What's up, man?
Not much, man. Just living the dream.
Hey, this show is pretty good, dude. We'll make it quick. This show is really cool. It's all about the Southwest Section AAPG event happening in Fort Worth, June 26th to the 30th. If you're involved in the oil and gas industry or you have a passion to teach the kids what's going on with geology, to teach the teachers what's going on with geology, to help the oil and gas industry educate the common public and the rest of the world, be there at this event. Justin, thank you so much for joining us, man.
Thank you. Appreciate you guys.
So we're going to do something real pointed, man. We just want to talk about the Southwest Section AAPG primarily, and talk about Premier as a company. If you have the website pulled up, I know you know that my interests lie in your cuttings database and badass, I don't remember what you guys call it, but you basically have a free software that you just go in as long as you register, and you can look at wells, look at where the cuttings intervals are. That's all, like, you could just go surf that stuff, which is really cool.
Do you need a job? We're looking for another sales guy.
Hey, I'll tell you this, me and Skip will talk about that. Me and Skips will talk about that functionality every show that we do in the near future if you guys sponsor the show.
I'm thinking that might be a good idea.
Well, let's get started, man. This will be the official conception part of the PBE podcast with Mr. Justin Vandenbrink. And
there you go.
There it is.
Sir, I appreciate you joining us, man. We crossed paths, I would say at least 3 years ago. I remember at least shaking your hand then at these conventions and seeing you kind of around the industry. How long have you been with Premier?
So Premier coming up in October, I think it'll be 2 years.
Okay.
You might have met me in a former life when I was doing some well data with TGS.
TGS, that's it.
Mm-hmm.
That was probably it. So the data portion, obviously, of our industry is pretty big right now. It was a nice mix because at the time I got up to speed on well log data. And you know what a petrophysicist loves is the combination of chocolate and peanut butter, right? So you got your well log data and you got your rock data. So now we are the company that sells rock data to mix with the well log data. And that helps you build a nice big treasure map to go look for hydrocarbons.
Right on. You just summed up what Premier Oilfield Labs is.
Got it.
Nice work, man. So so you make the transition, you get involved with Premier. At the same time, the industry goes through a historic downturn, as we know. But the point of this show, again, is that we're coming back to do a live show in person. Fort Worth Geological Society, the Southwest Section AAPG, is bringing together the best geoscientists and engineers to talk about the oil and gas industry. Technically, what do we see in the rocks and the outcrops and in the data that suggests that we can get better if we tweak here or there? You know, the technical side of these conferences are really, really fascinating to sit down and hear the discussions. And the magic happens in person, man. I mean, we just recently discovered that again doing our Midland live show. You know, we talk about kinfrac and a new revolutionary way to frack wells. The questions in the audience were fantastic. Okay, let's assume that it does work. Have you thought about the fracture network that it's going to create? How are you going to keep that fracture network open now that it's a different way to do it? There's different problems. And man, that's what happens at these live shows. And you guys stepped up immediately. So when you saw the Fort Worth Geological Society go in person and go virtual, Premier Oilfield Labs was instantly in and supportive of this. You know, what's the mindset there at the company to do that? And why don't we see all the companies doing that?
Well, I think the way, you know, I'm the sales director, so I have to keep my finger on the pulse of the regions. And obviously the Permian's big, right? So the Permian is Midland, Odessa, and everything around there. So you got that box checked. The other area that I've really noticed starting to take off is DFW. We have a big presence in Oklahoma, Tulsa, but DFW and being up there with my sales team and talking. Oh, by the way, that's just my dog.
Oh, dude, that dog looks like something out of a cartoon. What kind of dog is that?
What kind of dog are you? He's a Bernedoodle.
Bernedoodle.
You literally were my voice in my head when he said it, Skips. I went like, you said it.
Yeah. So this is our new thing. This is for my daughter. So that made me a good dad. So let's just leave it at that.
Right. Yeah. Well, it looks like an awesome dog. I'd love to hang out with that dog all day.
Yeah. Partner in crime, just hanging out during the workday.
Yeah. But the DFW, when I love the D part of Dallas, the Dallas part, but the FW, I mean, Fort Worth is, if you've been down there recently, when it's starting to pick up again, we've got a lot of clients there, and they're a very big supporter of the industry. And so as soon as we heard that Fort Worth was going to be hosting, I think you had Trey on just recently to talk about AAPG Southwest Section, Trey Cortez. And when we heard it was going to be in Fort Worth, we jumped at it. We think this is a great chance for us to show off what we do, but also support the society and the companies there that are trying to get back on the road and speed up.
Wow. Man, I talk about it with Trey Cortez. I said they call it the awakening to a new era. You know what I mean? Like this idea that we're going into the roaring 20s, like what happened in the 1900s with the pandemic, and then cautions. It's just to the wind, man. Yeah. We're here to build. We're here to invest. We're here to build. It's more risky to keep hold of your money right now than it is to use it. I think that's the facts. I think that's absolutely facts. If you just hold on to it, I think there's an overall trajectory that it's just getting more risky, folks. If you spend it, you at least have an opportunity to start messing with that curve. If it's an overall trajectory going up with more risk just by waiting, you better start using your effing money, and you better start investing into things that you think are truly valuable. And that's exactly why we put ourselves there with Trey Cortez and PBE Podcast. I didn't know that fun fact about Fort Worth and how they commit to really the oil and gas industry. But after you said it, it makes sense because they're bringing in teachers and students, the public, to this event to teach them about rocks, to teach them what the oil and gas industry is doing when we manage the resources of hydrocarbons coming out of the rocks, inspire the kids, get them to understand the importance of energy, right? Without it, we're done. Oil and gas energy is providing everything for us to continue to progress and get it through these roaring 20s. And it's such an exciting time to see Fort Worth pull the teachers and students together at the same time we're in these roaring 20s, man. You're crazy not to be at this event.
Yeah, I've been in the business 24 years now, and I've done a lot of these, it's mixed. It's you have the conference and then you have the social event.
Yep.
And, social events, they can be good, they can be bad. Premier's known for a pretty good party. We've put on some blowouts, but we saw this as like when we went to the HTX distillery. Are you kidding me?
Oh.
That place is off the chain. It is probably the best venue I've seen of any conference I've ever been to. We visited it personally because we're the primary sponsor along with Core Geologic.
Wow.
And it's just going to be so fun. It's going to be great because, right, like you said, things are, masks off now. We're coming back. There's going to be a lot of people there. We're getting a lot of good hits. It's going to be a really high-end quality networking event that supports the society, and then the society can support the education, like you mentioned. So I'm excited about it.
I feel confident that we should be seeing some big sponsors come through to support the nonprofits of the AAPG and of the Fort Worth Geological Society. I mean, there's some major money-making companies right there in Fort Worth, and wouldn't it be exciting to join and invest in what we're talking about here? Start the teachers. What Trey said, what was very interesting was the teachers are uncomfortable with teaching geology. They're so unfamiliar with it, and they don't. They got a biology degree, they got chemistry degrees, they're science teachers, but they're not comfortable teaching geology, and that's a major disconnect, man. We have to teach geology.
That's interesting because when I was at the HGS and part of the Houston Geological Society, one of the things we also did there, one of the mandates for the HGS is to educate the schools. We forget that, and so. 5 years ago, there was an opportunity for some of the board members to go to the schools in the Houston area and talk with teachers and walk into a class and actually, you know, talk about oil and gas, it was unbelievable. Like, you roll into that school, and number one, the teacher's just so thankful you're there, because she does not know how to teach this section of science.
Yep.
And the questions were so good, and the kids love it. The only reason I'm a geologist today is because of my grade 12 geography teacher. He had such a passion. He just drew me in.
Wow.
I was going to say, you got a grade 12 geography. I think the last physical science I took until college was in 7th grade.
Really?
That was my last earth science course that I took. Yeah, not in college or in high school. In high school, it was just, you know, physics, chem, bio. That was, and then anatomy. That was it. That was no earth science courses, which still is mind blowing to me now.
Well, add to that, no physical education, no music classes, and you got yourself a recipe for disaster.
Yeah.
Wow. You know, Musk, I guess, recently said something along the lines of, you know, it's easier to land on Mars than to change what's going on in the school districts. And
the education system.
Yeah. And he, you know, he's really onto something right there, but he doesn't understand the facts that we are going through some major changes and some major progression for fundamental engineering, science, and psychology, all of it. It's all getting fundamentally progressed. And man, that is exciting. The kids are excited about it. The teachers are excited about it. And with excitement, I think will come an amazing opportunity. And the AAPG's right there doing it. You guys are... We put it together at this show. We put the whole thing together. We should have major support from all industries, because we're helping to build the city of Fort Worth. We're helping to build the industry and manage this resource and have generations of people manage this resource. It's not going anywhere, folks. As much as anybody wants to believe and wish that it might, it's not logical on all levels. We can talk about it until we're blue in the face, but at all levels, logically, it's not going anywhere. So let's manage it. That's what we can do. And we can't manage it by taking out geology. What kind of craziness? I mean, where are we getting our undergrads from, where we met, where Dr. B threw us through the coals, and where we learned this very valuable trade. CLU, done with geology. They're turning it into an environmental program. They're done with geology. They're turning it into an environmental
Hurts my
program.
soul.
They're kind of conflating the two, right? Like, okay, even if you think oil is the new coal, geology is not just oil. It's the study of the subsurface, and you cannot walk away from that.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's, in fact, we have to turn around and invest. We have to fucking put some time and effort back into this as a community, man. We need to be there. We all have to be there. And so I'm so thankful to Premier and to you and how you've developed as an outsider to see that response in this event and that immediate response. I mean, I think in Core Geologic, you said, is also a very fast response to do the same. I mean, the whole community needs to see that, needs to hear this story. It's important.
Yeah. And, you know, we always love to sponsor events. You know, Howard Wood at Core Geologic, and we'll step up when we can. But it's also nice to see the big boys come in, and Total has also stepped up. And we heard from Trey just a couple of weeks ago that they're going to be sponsoring a portion of it too. So this is no small party. There's going to be a lot of important people there, and we have opportunities for sponsorship on a very small level. If you just want a little patch on the end of a barrel, a whiskey barrel, all the way up to, you know, we'll put a hot air balloon out there if you pay enough. I mean,
love it.
We'll burn natural gas.
I love it. Tell us a little bit more about Premier Oilfields right now, and kind of what are you guys excited about the most for this event?
So we are kind of a 5-pronged animal. We definitely are a rock and fluids analysis company. I don't want to bore everybody with it. The people who know us know us. Suffice to say, we're a boutique version of some other really good companies in the industry, like Core Lab. We're not as big as them. We have our own clients; they have theirs. We got a lot of technical experts, and we kind of mix in the fluids as well. So we do some work on completions and drilling fluids, and understanding as a neutral third-party lab. For both vendors and for operators, they can come to us and say, is this the right amount of chemical for this formation? Am I getting a little bit screwed by somebody here? Am I paying too much if I go with this company?
Yeah.
And we're kind of like the consumer reports of fluids, right? You just come to us and we give you just what it is, unbiased.
Wow. Cool.
So the fluid side has always been beneficial for us. And then, of course, the other, I'm Mr. Analogy. I love analogies. The other thing I say for us is on the geology side is, back in the day when you hunted buffalo, you killed that buffalo, you used every piece of that buffalo. You used the horns, the hoofs, the hide, everything. Well, we're kind of like that with core, right? So core is our big thing. We go after that core. And once we get that core in shop, we use it all and we analyze it for our clients. And we give you everything from geochemistry down to rock mechanics and everything in between.
Yeah. And you doing this all in-house, dude. So wait a minute. Who's...
And in Midland, by the way. Name me another lab that does all that stuff so close to the boys in Midland, and I'll buy you a beer.
All right, I will work hard for that beer. But I'm interested in there has to be who's kind of, in your opinion, in the company, the integrator of the fluids and the rock, like you talked about. I mean, why is pH so important?
That's why I came here too, is because we kind of have it all. It's a one-stop shop, and then when let's be honest though, you can poke rocks. You can play with fluids, but what's the real end game? I had a friend who told me a great story, and this is what I say too about what our lab is. So Aubrey McClendon at Chesapeake.
Wow.
He used to interview everybody who used to come and work for him after 3 months. If you made 3 months, you sit down with the big boss. So one of these head gals, a petrophysicist, was coming in for her meeting with Aubrey, and Aubrey said, first question, so you're a petrophysicist? And she goes, yeah. He goes, what are petrophysicists used for? What are they good for, right? Describe what petrophysics is.
Let's hear it, Skips. What's your answer?
She starts talking about, we interpret wireline and we mix it with rock data and all that. And he looked at her after she was done. He said, no, that's not it at all. It's part of the money machine. You help us make money with what you do. And that's what Premier does. We do a lot of little things that combine together to, at the end of the day, help a client understand, because we also have an engineering component, understand where to place those wells and what's going to happen in that specific part of that rock with the fluids and the rock, frac and completions, because we add in the frac and completions analysis as well. And by the way, that's at the end of the day, you want to pull oil or gas out of the ground.
That's right.
You don't care really about the rock if it doesn't really benefit you. You don't care about the fluid if it doesn't benefit you. You care about it all if at the end of the day, it all combines to get that fluid out of the ground and make you money.
That's right.
So that's the solution we provide. Not this, but a combined solution.
That's huge, man.
No, I couldn't agree more. And I think you really hit the nail on the head there with, what is your purpose in this company? At the end of the day, your goal is to de-risk this asset so we can make as much money as possible, right? Your goal isn't to be, I made these fun little models. Look at my colors. It's, hey, these models help us either validate or, deny that this is going to be a good reservoir, right? So we should continue to go after this or we shouldn't continue to go after this. Right. But I think it's fascinating that, like you were saying, you're a one-stop shop, doing everything from the geochem to the rock mechanics to, looking at the depositional environment of the core itself. That is an extremely powerful package, right? When you're evaluating any kind of reservoir, especially in a new area, unconventional or conventional.
And, there's a lot of companies out there that do that all themselves, and that's great. But there's also a lot of companies out there that, because of the times and the financial crunch, they've had to spin off some of their departments and people, and they don't have that integration. So they can bolt on a lab like us and not have to handle all the HR and all that stuff, right?
Wow.
They just come to us, we've got one project, drop it in, and then we walk away.
Wow.
A couple months later.
Wow. I mean, I'm thinking about managing that situation. It must be pretty freaking interesting inside the walls at Premier to have basically a exploration, completion, production team, if you will. We were just kind of explained, ready to go. Not just kind of waiting for something to happen. But no, you got the team that's ready to go on the Permian. You got the team that's ready to go where an operator just goes, I got it. We got the extra money. We want to pay you guys to help us do this. We don't have the team. And then bang, to get everybody aligned on that, to get everybody fired up and say, where's the data? Are we all saying the same thing? How fast can we integrate this thing? Create a product in that environment. Man, whoa.
And, the last thing, this, Troy. Now, I don't know, Matt, if you were in Midland with Troy as well.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
So, the Midland International Sample Library or whatever, we bought that, right? So we've got over 400,000 rocks that if you come to us and you don't have the rocks that you want us to analyze, we can just go out in the shed and pull the ones that you do need, right?
I was going to say that it was the cuttings library, correct?
That's it.
I was going to say that the amount of data within that library, I was sent to that library multiple times to say, hey, I think there's some of these offset wells have some cuttings. Like, go ahead and go get them. But like being able to not waste my personal time so I can spend more time interpreting the rock, that would have been crucial. Because I mean, like you said, especially in some more of these like fringe wildcat areas, if you can get that rock data and get a peek into the subsurface without even drilling your own well, I mean, that's worth its weight in gold. Come on, man.
Talk about it.
I think really like in the future, everything's going to be public. All this data, we're kind of in this weird rubble zone right now. But I think eventually everything's going to be public. A kid who plays Xbox 24 hours a day is going to be able to drill his own wells without getting out of his lab coat or his underwear. He'll be sitting in his room, coordinating all the services, pulling all the data, and using the analysis from online tools to poke holes in the ground. I really do think that we are stumbling towards efficiency, but when we get there, it's going to be amazing, and it won't be as big a deal. It'll just be another commodity, and you need more oil. Well, we'll just look at the cube in that area, and we've got all the data there. Like for example, there's so many companies that are trying to sell their piece of the package right now.
Right.
And then somebody else has to assemble that whole package. But ultimately, computers can do that. We haven't got there yet.
Wow. I like the way you said stumbling our way into efficiencies. And that's because it's absolutely true. It's absolutely true. And so
especially for oil and gas is the worst because we're usually 10 to 20 years behind in terms of computer technology versus other industries, I'd say.
Wow. Yeah. Man, it's an exciting time. It's an exciting time because we're not stumbling anymore. We actually kind of getting our feet, and at the same time, we're putting these amazing events together, man. I mean, you're tying in new geologic concepts, modern context, modern technology, and we're putting it forward. We're putting it out there, and we're watching the response literally take place. And it's happening, man. We're helping to drive that, in my opinion, and we're a part of that, right? Like that's where I invest my personal time and attention, which I really, really value. It's the same personal time and attention that I give to my kids, right? But it's not 24/7. I can do that. You got to do other things, and this is it. Why? Well, man, listen to this story, man. Listen to your experiences and your company now contributing to the local society of Fort Worth, which is overall a part of our planet that supports the industry and that's really there to allow us to be well fed and to have a foundation to tell the people about what's going on. I mean, that's why we do what we do.
I think even, when I joined the HGS, it was right around the time that John McCain, I think, was running for president.
Whoa.
That was around 2010, 2000, around there. Anyway, you got to think big. I think we don't think big enough as well, and we don't get the message out. I was like, why are we inviting John McCain to be one of our guest speakers at our HGS event?
Wow.
Why are we going on CNN with our president from the AAPG to talk about what's happening in the world of oil?
Wow.
We got to get in front of this stuff. We have a big society. Why aren't we using it effectively? Like a lot of other societies do in the media. And if we can do that, then kids will watch and say, is that a geologist on TV? I want to be like that person, or I want to be like her.
Wow.
And I think that's important. I don't think we think big enough in the oil and gas industry from that angle.
Wow. Wow. Again, very timely with what we've been talking about, man. I mean, what a great time and opportunity for AAPG to do that. And you being the chair-elect for the House of Delegates.
Yeah, just got the news.
Let me see if I can...
Thank you.
Nope, that's not it. Nope. Where's the applause?
We got there.
Sorry.
It's a funny story. So we had our annual general meeting a couple Sundays ago, and Troy, you're a delegate, so we've seen you in those. I was a delegate for the Houston area, and I didn't realize I had 3 minutes to give the whole assembly my pitch on why I should be the chair for 2022.
Hot seat.
And so when they said, you're on, hit it, I didn't hold back, because it was like, I'm not going to do, if I'm going to spend this much of my time, which is valuable, just like you guys said, I want to affect change.
Wow.
And so I said, this is what it's going to be like. And if you hire me, we need to make some changes with the House of Delegates, really look at it and contribute to the AAPG being more progressive and more of a powerhouse in the next, couple of years. And hopefully with all of this stuff, we can get that going and appeal more to the youth and the membership that we're missing out on.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm more confident than ever as an AAPG member and as a delegate and Minerals Division counselor, the Southwest section, watching you particularly over the next couple of years. At the same time, we're talking about integrating societies. I think the AAPG is a living, breathing lesson for a lot of societies around the world to watch what happens when you properly integrate major departments that make up a whole industry. Watch it integrate and watch how powerful this voice and this platform is going to be. I mean, merging with SPE, like we talked about. Can you give us a little bit of intel on that?
I can and I can't. I mean, you can go to the website. It is. We were talking about this offline. It is official. We are exploring the talk. It's not official that we're merging.
Right.
I think there's some reservations on the side of both societies with their membership, making sure that there's equal representation of engineers, geologists. If we can get through that and we can put some bylaws in there that effectively represent everybody, I think it'll be nothing but a good idea. Mm-hmm. And, the other reason for this, I think, is fiscal, right? Organizations, societies today, with COVID and all that, a lot of them took a hit because they couldn't have their conventions, which were a big moneymaker. So when you don't have conventions, but you're still supporting staff and you're supporting programs, educational, you start to see the money bucket start to drop. And it just came to light even more so, I think, in 2020. So this would be, I think, a real great way to kind of economy of scale, get back into the game, make sure we have the right amount of money to do what we want to do for the next 5 to 10 years. Now, you talk to any geologist, and there's always it's us versus the engineers, right?
Sure.
But that needs to change too.
That's the elephant in the room.
Yeah, the young people these days. I mean, you're an engineer, you're a geologist. Everybody says, "Yeah, that's cool." That's the first thing they say. They don't say, "Oh, us versus you." That's old school. Yeah. So I think that would be helpful too, to merge us and make us more unified.
Man. And I think, kind of touching back on kind of what you were saying, I think the geology role and the engineering role, we're understanding that, we need to integrate our ideas in order to be successful. So we can no longer just butt heads. I mean, obviously there's going to be an argument here or there, but for the most part, geologists need to understand the fundamentals of what these engineers are doing and vice versa, right? In order to be as successful as possible.
And the engineers bring so much interesting stuff to the table in the whole workflow that is, oil and gas drilling. If I were honest with myself, I'm a bit jealous of engineers as a geologist, because they're very structured, they're very organized.
Discipline, yeah.
And they make more money than me too. So
well, we'll see how the tides turn when we start integrating. You start seeing the value of the geologist that's sniffing the rocks all day long for these engineers. But one thing I wanted to say, besides that simple fact that we all have to respect and appreciate, each other's and the skills that we bring, there is a natural, not uncomfort, but friction, because let's be honest, we didn't know about plate tectonics until the 70s. So anybody that developed with a geologist as an engineer from like the 50s to the 70s was probably like, I knew you were full of shit this whole time, man. These land bridges. Where are these bridges? That's what I asked you, and you couldn't answer, and now you flipped, right? Now we have this new model. Now we have this new way of totally rethinking about the whole thing. So the engineers got to appreciate that. Okay, I call bullshit, and we found out, okay, that's fine, but what is this new model all about? What do you mean plate tectonics? What do you mean what's going on is happening accretion and subcretion to build rocks on this planet? Whoa. A whole new way of thinking about stuff, folks. Better listen. And it's time, man. It's time to listen.
And it's hilarious because as a geologist, you're trained to speak in gray, and as an engineer, you're trained to speak in white and black. So again, we have a full spectrum now. Let's put them all together.
Wow, that's it, man. That's exactly what we're talking about. I'm honored to share this time with you, man, because you're talking about something that really brings enjoyment to us at the PBE podcast. Like this progression, we've talked about it. We've seen it. We've been seeing it coming. We talked about it, ERTEC and SEG 2019. The AAPG coming together the way it is and telling that story, showing this integration. I mean, that's our chance, is to go, let's go find an engineer and say, hey, let's make a paper together. If you're out there and you're a geologist and an engineer, you guys aren't talking yet, talk. This platform, this new platform, is going to be such an amazing spotlight for you as an individual, for your company, to go out there and say, no, we've integrated. We came together on this idea and we're creating something new. Mm-hmm. That's where we're at.
Yeah, it's going to be awesome. And, the AAPG, I've been a member of the AAPG since 1994. And when I was in Canada, going to University of British Columbia, my geology department, it was an honor. It was like, to get into the APG, you had to show your transcript of your grades. You had to have two, scientists approve, send letters in. Right. This is a big deal, right?
That's right.
And that had to happen. And now now it's easier to get in, but that has to happen too. Yeah. I like the fact that more people can get into the APG to make us bigger and stronger, but it's a pretty cool organization. So we've got a lot of good stuff on the APG to show and push forward, and I think the engineers will come to love us.
Yep.
If this happens, because it's still an if.
Right at this point. Well, I'm feeling what the way I'm leaning when it comes to vote time, but it is what it is. It's got to develop, because you bring up a really good point, which is another reason why I think it's such a valuable time as you to be chair of delegate, because you're looking at what's about to happen in your day-to-day running Premier. Premier is integrating probably, tell me the ratio. Is it 80-20 as far as engineers versus geologists when you put a team together?
Yeah, so we've got about 3 departments that are geology, one that's fluids, and then one that's engineering. So you do the math. Again, I'm not an engineer.
So you already seeing it. You got to balance this. You have to manage that. You do have just straight up more engineers, man. And that equals power if you let that happen. Yeah. But I think you can balance that. I think that's what you're going to show in 2022.
Yeah, hopefully. I'm going to try to do my part. I mean, I think everybody... I got to where I was and am because of being part of societies and what they did for me. So I'm quite happy to give back. I think everybody should volunteer.
Man, you guys have any posters or presentations?
For the Southwest section, I don't know if we do. I know for ERTEC, we have some carbon capture, carbon safe initiatives that this is the other thing we're doing, which is fun. Didn't tell you about this. We're obviously trying to be progressive, and this carbon capture and storage is very big right now. And we have a big team of PhDs and masters, technical experts who cut their teeth on carbon capture and storage. And so we've created a carbon capture storage team. We've actually done work. You were talking about with your company, Troy, you're working with the government. Well, we just got a Department of Energy grant to work on some core work for carbon capture, more the storage, the sequestration, with some companies up in the Denver, Wyoming area. Actually, sorry, the Kansas area, because with the Kansas Geological Survey. So that's the other fun thing that we're doing, and that's going to be the talk that we're going to be doing at ERTEC.
Cool.
But for AAPG Southwest section, I think we'll be talking more around Scotch than we will be at the convention. Right
on, man. Well, if we're going to pull together a little live show, and we'll have some slots, and it would be awesome, man. We could bring you up and just introduce you to the crowd, let everybody know that you're there, and thanks for the sponsorship, and get your take on the event up to that day. Just a quick one, 5-10 minutes, and we could do it live.
Yeah, sure, that'd be great. I think you guys should set up by the golfing. Where do you already know where you're setting up? Have you talked with Trey about where you are?
Yeah, yep. We're right next to the par 3.
Yeah, the hole in one par 3 type thing.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yep.
That'll be good. You guys that'll be another addition that's really going to make this event just pop. I think Trey talked about where this distillery is, right? It's dropped in the middle of a old golf course.
Yeah, where Ben Hogan learned how to play golf. Can we get Ben Hogan there?
Yeah, can we take him out of cryogenics and unthaw him and bring him back? I think he's dead.
My bad.
Yeah.
Sorry. Yeah. Not up on my golf. Well, who's the other guy? There's another guy that's really famous from. I'm sorry. I hope he's not rolling over on me. There's another guy that's real famous from that spot, though, I thought, too.
Yeah, there is. Who is that? Trey's going to have to tell us. I forget. But there's some good golfers. Well, Jordan Spieth is just down the road from Dallas, so maybe we can grab him.
Wouldn't that be awesome? Teach us how to golf.
I'll put a word in. See if he wants to show up and help support the kids.
Right on. That's it, man. That's all we're doing. Just a bunch of kids supporting kids, man. Well, Justin, thank you so much. Enjoy your time in Costa Rica, sir. Thank you for making time for this show. I can't wait to get it out and to tell everybody that Premier's in support why, and also just why is it important for everybody that hears this to be there. We really want people to be there.
No, for sure. And hey, guys, I just want to say, I've been watching you for a while. I really appreciate what you're doing for our industry, and also the passion. That's super important. Man. If you don't have passion for what you're doing, you shouldn't be there. So I like when those swear words slip out of you, Troy. I like the fact that there's a magician's hat behind you, Matt. That sort of stuff keeps us moving in the right direction.
Right on. Enjoyed it. Okay, we're out.
All right.